glad to have you back. You're watching TVC News Hour. People living with disabilities joined hundreds of Ekiti people who trooped out to vote in the state's governorship election. Now, this is the first time they will be participating. Let's now bring in the Executive Director, Center for Citizens with Disabilities, David Anyaele, to share his thoughts on this. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much.
And I'm sure this must have really pleased you.
Yeah, I'm safe.
Well, he has also set the place for other elections to be inclusive. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, we thank INEC for making it possible for people with disabilities in Ekiti State, to observe the electoral process. They were accredited as election observers, and they were deployed in all the 16 local government areas of the state. The purpose is to enhance the campaign on equal voting access for people with disabilities in Nigeria, recognizing that there are a lot of barriers that hinder their participation. This is not the first time they are participating in election, but in Ekiti, there is a deliberate effort to ensure that people with disabilities are visible in the process.
The media.
But their participation is also a question of, to the extent that INEC make provision for them, recognizing that they have different, hindrances that, create barriers in their effort to participate.
Okay.
That is to say, institutional barrier, environmental barrier, as well as attitudinal barrier. What we observe in Ekiti State includes that greater number of polling units in Ekiti were not accessible to people with disabilities. The same was in Edo, in Anambra, in Ondo. So the issue is, to what extent is INEC learning lessons from the outcome of the reports that have been shared with them in terms of persons with disabilities participation in the electoral process? Recognizing that more than 25 million Nigerians are living one form of disability or the other, with over 61% of them eligible or more than 18 years, to participate in the electoral process. So what we are saying is that INEC should take cognizance of some of the outcomes of the election vis-a-vis people with disabilities, because in the social media, there are a lot of pictures showing someone on wheelchair going to participate, showing one physically challenged or the other going to participate. The question is this: how do you cite polling unit across Gota? How do you cite polling unit in environment that takes different steps for individual to cast his or her vote? So these are some of the things that we observe that creates a kind of concern for us. And we are saying that INEC should take appropriate measure to put their ballot polling unit in an open space where people who are physically challenged, who are blind, who are deaf, can easily access. And the key issue that came up was issue of access to information. INEC provided Braille for
the blind,
not to vote, but to understand the process. But this document was not visible at the polling unit. So a typical election officer who is there to control the election cannot place it on his or her table. So you ask, do you know anything about such document? They say, oh, there is something like they'll start looking for whether to find it or not. In that kind of chaotic environment, there may not be possibility for such individual to bring it out, because there are also people who are queuing up for them to cast their vote. We also observe that where they are visible, individuals with disabilities were allowed to do priority voting. Good. But in as much as Section 56 of the Electoral Act remains as it is, in which it is crafted in a charity manner, that is to say, INEC may take measure to create access for people with disabilities, people with disabilities will continue to struggle to participate. We are saying that it should be recrafted.
Besides the barriers that you have outlined, which are valid, this is the first time persons with disabilities are participating in the election. Let's talk about the victories that you were able to glean from the Ekiti test case. Those things that you saw that were heartwarming, that will give you hope for the 2019 general elections. Yeah,
as I said earlier, this is not their first time of participating. They have been participating. But in terms of documenting their experience, this is the first time it is properly documented in Ekiti State.
Okay.
Because we documented in Anambra, we documented in Edo and Ondo. In terms of visibility, as I said earlier, INEC took appropriate measure in highlighting disability during the collection of election results. But there was no sign language interpreter there to interpret a deaf person to understand what the figures are saying.
Okay.
I don't know if you understand. But in Edo, in Anambra, we saw a sign language interpreter who did that. But getting to Ekiti, it was minus. But for the fact that the collection officers were asking number of people with disabilities that participated, you know, created a kind of visibility of disability issue, which is very, very good. However, a situation whereby a particular local government is being mentioned and they say no data on people with disabilities in a local government.
Well, we're hoping that with the Ekiti state election, that will serve as a litmus test, and INEC will do the needful for other elections, beginning with the Osun one and then the general elections next year. Yeah. David Anyaele, Executive Director, Center for Citizens with Disabilities. Thank you for joining us on TVC News.
So excited to be here.